Hey everybody, what is up? Welcome back to this video. This is about something really important. Oh, public opinion polling and American political beliefs. Let's get right to it. Alright, let's get right to it. Let's start with political culture. This is the idea that there are certain beliefs, certain widely held beliefs and norms that most Americans share. We're going to focus on 5 of these: individualism, equality of opportunity, free enterprise, rule of law, and limited government. Now, before I go any further and define these terms, let me just point out that I'm not talking about political ideology yet. That's the next video, so stick with me for that. For now, we're talking about areas of broad agreement. Individualism is the idea that each person is basically responsible for himself or herself. She can decide what to do, and then she has to live with the consequences of her decisions. On the other hand, people often disagree about the limits of individualism and debate when the government should step in to limit people's freedom or to assist people who have fallen on hard times. Almost everybody will say that they support equality of opportunity, meaning that everybody has an opportunity to succeed. But notice that this does not guarantee equal outcomes. The US economic system is founded on the principle of free enterprise, which means that it's mostly based on markets and that people have freedom to choose what to buy and sell. People also get to choose what career they want to pursue and whether to work for somebody and whether to leave that job. That's free enterprise. In the next video, we'll get into some of the ideological perspectives on economic policy, because there is certainly disagreement over just how free our market system should be. The last 2 are ideas we discussed in our very first video in this series: rule of law and limited government. Rule of law is the idea that no person is above the law. It doesn't matter how rich, powerful, or politically connected a person is, the US is a place of rule of law, where everybody is equal before the law. At least, we hope that's true. And most Americans support limited government, the idea that the government only has so much power, and that power is limited by the Constitution. Again, in the next video, we'll explore how different ideologies differ on just how limited that government should be, though. Speaking of ideology, why does a person develop the political beliefs that they do? Our term for this, and the AP exam loves asking questions about this, by the way, is political socialization. The process of a person obtaining her political beliefs is known as political socialization. There are a number of influences on a person's political socialization. The most significant is typically a person's parents and family. Additionally, peers, schools, religious groups, and the media can influence a person's beliefs about the size and scope of government. Globalization has both influenced other countries and been influenced by the values of other countries, affecting the political socialization of Americans. Next, we want to focus on 2 causes for differences in political beliefs: generational effects and life cycle effects. Be careful because these are easy to mix up. Generation effects refers to different voting patterns and political beliefs of people from different generations. So we're talking about comparing people from one generation to another. For example, if polling data suggests that millennials are more likely to vote for liberal candidates than baby boomers, that could be the result of generational effects. Life cycle effects, on the other hand, suggest that people focus on different issues at different points in their life. For example, younger voters might care more about a candidate's proposal to reduce the cost of college, while a middle-aged voter might focus more on tax rates and care about childcare tax credits. And an older voter might just focus on old age programs like Medicare and Social Security. Notice that this isn't a generational thing. The important thing is where a person is in their life cycle at a particular point in time, and as they age, their policy preferences often change. Additionally, political scientists argue that major political events that occur during a person's young adulthood have an often disproportionate influence on their political attitudes and beliefs. Experiencing the Great Depression, or the 1960s protest movements, or 9/11, or COVID at an impressionable age can lead to these events really shaping a person's political beliefs far into the future. Now we're going to shift gears and talk about how political scientists both gather and measure public opinion. There are several specific types of polls that we're going to get to and go through in just a few moments, but first, there's two broad ways that they gather this information. It can be through mass survey and through focus groups. A focus group is often used by a campaign to gather a small group of voters, usually representing various demographic subsets, and leading an in-depth discussion about a candidate to try to determine how people really feel about her. A good thing about using focus groups is that the information gathered can be much more detailed than from a typical poll, and can even help the campaign to adopt new strategies to make the candidate more appealing to voters. However, it's important to remember that this is not a scientifically valid method because of the small, non-representative nature of the group. A mass survey goes the other direction and measures public opinion by interviewing or polling a large sample of the population, typically at least 1,000 to 1,500 people for a nationwide survey. We'll talk in a moment about methods to ensure that the survey is scientifically valid, but this is the most common method used by political scientists and pollsters to try to measure public opinion. There are at least 4 types of specific polls that we're going to discuss, so here we go. The first up is the basic opinion poll, which attempts to measure the public's opinion on a particular issue. Let's say we wanted to know how people feel about legalizing marijuana. This is the poll that we would conduct. By the way, remember that people's opinions change over time. So a poll showing that people opposed marijuana legalization way back when dinosaurs roamed the earth in 1970 isn't relevant to policy discussions today. A tracking poll is a continuous poll used to chart changes in opinion over time. So it asks the same question every time, such as about presidential approval or perhaps who you plan to vote for, and it may even contact the same people, and then it just tracks the changes in their response to that question over time. Benchmark polls are typically conducted by a candidate before they've even officially announced their candidacy. This is one of the first things that they might do to find out where they stand with the public before any campaigning. It allows them to gather information such as the strengths and weaknesses of the candidate, find out if people have ever heard of them, what they associate with them, which demographic groups have more favorable attitudes towards them, stuff like that. This last type of poll is different though. Whereas the first 3 typically contact people via phone or internet, entrance and exit polls are conducted in person. They are interviewing people as they enter or exit the polling place on election day and are trying to gain insight into voting behavior to help campaigns and media organizations predict the outcome of the election before the votes have been counted. They're usually trying to figure out which demographic groups showed up and voted, and what the key factors affecting voter choice were in that election. Okay, and the last thing we need to discuss are the elements of scientifically valid public opinion polls. One characteristic is that the sample must be random. In other words, everybody in the population must have an equal chance of being selected. Think of like a random number generator or something like that. But that alone isn't enough. The sample also needs to be stratified, wherein the population is divided into subgroups and weighted based on the demographics of the population. For example, your poll doesn't want to over or undersample certain groups. Otherwise, this will negatively impact the validity of the poll. We're thinking here of things like race, gender, party affiliation, education level, income, age, location. Now, even if you've done everything absolutely correct and perfect, your poll will still contain a sampling error. And the reason for that is because you only polled a sample of the population. You didn't ask everybody. So some of your results might be the result of chance variation. A sampling error of plus or minus 3% is generally acceptable, but understand that this means the results of a given poll response with such an error could actually be 3 percentage points higher or lower than what's indicated. Additionally, keep in mind that the wording of the question must be neutral and unbiased, as any effort to push respondents toward a specific response makes the poll invalid. The type and format of questions will also affect the results. For example, if the question is open-ended, or multiple choice, or ranked choice, etc., these kinds of things will also affect the results. A poll's reliability refers to the fact that you'd get consistent, repeatable results, and a poll's veracity is talking about the accuracy of the data collected. Alright everybody, that's it for this video on political beliefs and polling. Make sure to pause the video so you can answer these multiple choice questions. Go ahead and test yourself and see how well you know this section. Put your answers in the comments down below and check out the answer key in the description. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video all about political ideology and voting behavior. Until next time, this has been a LaMoney production. Alright, thanks again for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I really hope that you're benefiting from this series of videos that I've put together for you. Do me a favor and hit that like button. Show me some love if they are helping you out at all. Subscribe if you haven't already. And I've said it a million times, but what are you waiting for? Check out the AP Gov Ultimate Review Packet, 2 full-length multiple choice tests, FRQs, tons of practice questions, amazing study guides, questions, everything that you need to get ready for this test. To get an A in your class, a 5 on the AP exam, make sure you check it out. I'll see everybody in the next video.